Welcome to this episode number 9 of this series, Tuesday Night Live. With me, as always, there is the big man, Emanuele. Hello, Emanuele.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Emanuele. Hello. So, um, first of all, some announcements. Um, uh, Today is the last time that this series is going to be called Tuesday Night Live. I will rename it to Commodore Night Live because I think it makes more sense and because I like Commodore. So I want Commodore in the title.
Yes.
So yeah, it will be Commodore Night Live. The other thing is I want to remind you that 10th of September is the last day of the game jam. You will need to submit your games to either to Emanuele or you submit it on Twitch.io as a submission. The stream of all the games, okay, if it's possible to do it in one, will be the 20th of September because I will be in Italy, so it's impossible for me to do it earlier. So 20th of September is the day when we will do the live stream of the games. But it could be that it will be 2 days, not one day, when we do the stream for the games, depending how many there are, because it, I mean, the number of entries according to the number of entries is quite high, but then we see, depending how many will really submit, but we see. So that is news from my side in terms of the game jam. I will mention the game jam in a minute again, but for now I think that is news that um, you is useful for you. Let's put this. I will repeat this again because when we are closing, I think it's better to repeat this because now that we are at the end of the stream of the game jam, it's good that people know, no? Um, as usual, with the permission of Emanuele, I go and say my usual prayer.
You have a faculty.
So, as usual, I encourage you to subscribe to the Face 101 YouTube channel and like the videos. I remind you that under each video there is this show more where you will find links and info related to the video and also the chapters, so you view only the part that interests you. You don't need to watch the full 2 hours of the video. Besides that, I remind you that Retro Programmers Inside also has its own YouTube channel, so please subscribe and like the videos on the channel. And I have to say that Emanuele has made a hit with some YouTubes, with some videos. As you can see, 4K views for this video, and another one 4K views for this one. Both of them algorithms. He forgot to mention that this is an algorithm, the last one, so this is why he doesn't have enough views. Emanuele does not understand how YouTube works yet. So yeah, Emanuele, I sent you a message to correct the title.
Yes. In fact, I corrected the title.
No, it's showing wave function collapse tiles, not algorithm. You need to use the word algorithm.
There is no yes, yes.
Yeah, because
Okay,
else it
I
will not.
will change it again.
Yeah, yeah. I just added the title. Um, like YouTube, we have the Facebook page which is our blog, and the same thing. Retro Programmers Inside has their own page. Okay, so please follow these two pages for latest news updates. Also, besides that, I have my Phase 101 Facebook group on Facebook, and of course, Retro Programmers Inside has their own Facebook group, which I encourage you to join and follow. There are good, not there are really good people there that knows how to code, and you will learn um, from this group. There is also Commodore Dev, which is anything related to Commodore. Okay, and then we pass to the Game Jam. As you see, there is only 10 days remaining to the Game Jam. 14 people has joined so far, but this is on HIO. There are others on Facebook. If we go on Retro Programmers Inside Facebook group, it's this one, you should see a lot more besides my posts, but you should see a lot more. Yeah, for example, this one is in BBC, no? It's BBC. MSX. And more. Amiga. So yeah, there is more on there. As you know, and by now you know me, those that want to get in touch with me, although I reply to most messages, not to most, to all messages on Facebook, I take time. I am faster on Discord. So if you want to reach me, message me on Discord. Besides that, okay, there is also a channel dedicated to the game jams of Retro Programmers Inside, where you can see some of the games that has been submitted, or not submitted, sorry, that people are working on. Okay, so there's quite a bit. I also have a Telegram group. If you want to, you do not like Discord, you do not like Facebook, you can also join the Telegram group, and I post things there. You can chat with me, whatever. As always, for those that want to help me, okay, for what I do, then you can support us by joining Patreon, where you will unlock 70 videos. This is the same on Ko-fi. Okay, there is no difference between the two. Just to make you aware, not all 70 videos will be on YouTube. So there are some videos that I do not release. They will only be for Patreons. And of course, the code is only for Patreons that I release. On Patreon, I do not share. Except the code that I say I share in my live streams. There is code that I do not share, and I don't mention it on Patreon. But I share it with my supporters. And that's basically it. So we jump to our screen. Okay. So we continue with the horizontal scrolling. Okay, I will leave this to Emanuele in a minute, but notice we have a new way of commenting. So now it's easier, and I really took a lot of time to do this. Now it's easier to realize that those two lines, what they do, what these four lines do. Okay, so it's spoon feeding literally right now the code. Um, it's impossible you do not understand what it is doing, unless you are lazy and you don't even look at the Commodore map, etc. But you should. The code is very highly commented now. So I need to share this with Emanuele. And I sent him the, where is it? Messages. There. Emanuele, you have the key.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I
Thank
sent you the key to live share.
Okay, thank you. Joining, waiting for host approval.
Yeah. So,
Okay, here we are.
okay, you are in control. So you can start.
Okay, a moment.
Hello, Dockster. Good evening, Dockster. Oh, yes, Prince of MSI. I should mention this. Uh, Thanks to Dockster, I am part of the MSI also Mega Style group. So yeah, Dockster.
Okay.
Emanuele, you can start.
Sorry, I'm in late. Okay. In this example, we scroll towards the right on a single line using hardware scrolling, like other other episodes. This program uses the hardware scroll capabilities of the Commodore 64 to shift smoothly a single line of characters to the left. Um, Sorry, James, can you show the result of
Yes,
the
yes,
program before?
good idea. Okay, so this is the first code that you're going to see. What I mean, this is what the source code that we have, what it will do. For we have three listings today. I don't know if we managed to do them all three, but this is the first one. It's a simple scroll from left to right. Um, so nothing fancy in a way, but uh, there's something that Emanuele needs to explain so that you can understand what's coming next.
Okay.
So let's close that, and all yours.
Even if this example is very simple, I prefer to use two interrupts service routine in a way to explain how to call the first one, the second one after the first one. In fact, the first one is needed to indicate at what raster line the scroll begins, and the second one is needed to indicate at what raster line the scroll stops. Uh, Due to the nature of this example, the two raster lines must be aligned with the chart lines on the screen. Otherwise, we will see the lines partially shifted. The two interrupts, we will use the basic vectors, so we don't not banking out basic and kernel. And we will using the vector O 314 and 315 instead of FFFFA, FFFF in hexadecimal mode. In this example, the color will not be scrolled.
Emanuele, I remind you to highlight when you are talking about code to which part you
Okay,
are.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm talking about this part. This is the basic vector that we will use if we don't turning off basic and kernel. But if we turning off basic and kernel, we can use the FF, FA, AFF, FF vector with some little difference that we have explained in the previous examples. Anyway, if anyone want to make a little exercise, could be modify this source code using the FFA and FFFF vector, banking out basic and kernel, obviously. Okay. Here we have some constant indicating the VIC register, like the control register 1, the raster counter register, the control register 2, the interrupt register, and the VIC border color to change the border color on Commodore 64. Here we have the two constant to indicate the two addresses of ERQ vector with basic is on, the low byte and the high byte of the vector. Here we have a constant that indicates the address of first byte of a second screen line, because this example will shift the second line of the Commodore 64, like we saw some seconds ago. Here we have another constant that we will use after, and we will have two constant to indicate the start raster line and end raster line, to shifting the second line, the second character line on the Commodore 64. This constant is not used
Yeah, in this example. So
is like a typo.
yeah. Don't worry.
Okay.
I realize before you continue. So
Okay.
we are working hard here, and some people watching us having a beer. What do you think? We need to have a beer too, no?
So
Dockster! Enjoy it, my friend. Anyway, Emanuela, I have my Big Mac Dockster. With water though, not with cider.
you have a Big Mac of Dockster?
No. I have a Big Mac that I use for water, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we see in later your the video.
Yeah.
And the mug is partly hidden by your green screen.
No. You want to see the? You didn't see it. Hold on. Look. Yeah, there's the Mac. It's a pint Mac. It's a Mac that can take a pint.
Okay, now I see. With a big B on the front.
It's
Boss.
Boss. Yeah, the Boss.
Oh, okay. It's the mug of the Bruce Springsteen.
No,
Yes.
well, it's the Mac of the Bruce. It's the Mac of my wife.
Your wife is your boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Right.
It's a reminder.
It's a
Yeah,
reminder.
Mrs. 101 wants to remind me that she's the boss.
Okay, can I continue?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay. Here we have the main program definition. It's a very little program, mm, little and simple. Okay. The first things that we made is enable the 38 column mode and resetting the scroll counter to 0, the horizontal scroll counter to 0. Um, both of these things are in the control register 2 of the VIC. Control register 2 is the DO16 hexadecimal. And here we load the register in the accumulator, and here we force it to show only 38 column to hide the first and the last column, to hide the little holes that Commodore will show if we don't hide the two columns. With this other end operation, we will reset the hardware scroll, the number of bits the number of pixels to scroll from the to the left, to shift to the left the entire screen. This one in reality is useless in this context. I mean, um, this I added this only to highlight the use of the first 3 bits, because at the start of the Commodore 64, these 3 bits are resetting.
Yeah, I
Are
was going
0,
to ask
0,
you
0.
why you did that. I would not do that, but okay, it doesn't matter to be honest. But yeah, I wanted to ask you why you did it.
Okay. After this, I setting the new value in the um, DO16 hexadecimal to reach our purpose. Okay. After that, I start and disable the interrupts to programming the first to setting the first interrupt. So I disabling the interrupt. I disable the SIA interrupt and clear the interrupt queue of unprocessed interrupts, like the other
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah,
Is the same.
yeah. This code is same as like the previous episodes
Is
that we
like
did.
the same
Yeah.
same code. this is the part that I I'm setting the ERQ start um, um,
Pointer, interrupt pointer,
pointer
yeah, or
exactly.
address.
Sorry, on the vectors, on the ERQ vectors. After that, I set the raster line, the triggers to interrupt, and I'm using the raster constant, that is the first raster line for the first interrupt service routine, and I set and I place this value to the DO12 register on the VIC. That is the raster counter uh, where I can read the current raster line, and where I can store the next raster line where the interrupt will occur. Okay. After this, I clear the 8-bit of the raster line, because my interrupt service routine will occur in a line before the 255 line. With these 3 lines, I clear the 8-bit of raster line. Substantially is this end operation that clear the seventh the bit number 7, that is the 80th bit of the DO11 VIC register. After this operation, I say to the Commodore 64 activate I say to it to activate the interrupt the raster line interrupt with this value on this registry, on this address, and after all, I re-enabling the interrupts. After this CLI opcode, my routine ERQ start, that is here, will be called when the
When the raster line,
sorry
yeah.
sorry James, the my my editor has closed the
Oh yeah, you lost connection. Okay, don't worry.
has closed the window.
Yeah, I will do it again. Send you the link.
Thank you. Okay.
So as you know, this routine, this entry routine where we set the interrupt is what we have been. Now you should know it. You should be very familiar with it. I mean, this is what the 7th, 8th examples that we have. So it is something that you should know.
I'm waiting for the host
Yeah.
approval. Sorry, James.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So basically, I normally I repeat after Emanuele, but I do not think there's the need to repeat this also. This code is available online for you guys, and as you see now, each piece of code is commented. I mean, I don't think we can help you more than this. It really says what it's doing. So I think it's fair. By the way, have you noticed that Emanuele's English is much more better? I'm serious. Um, he has it really improved. Um, he doesn't
Thank
struggle
you.
that much. So, Emanuele, you can continue. I give you control. Okay,
Okay,
there you go. You have control.
okay, okay. Uh, I'm saying that after this opcode CLI, my ERQ start routine is called when the raster line will reach the raster S value, that is 57. Okay, so after CLI, I can make an RTS return to basic opcode because we have basic in this example. We haven't banked out the basic, so we can continue to write something even if is useless. Anyway, this interrupt service routine will be triggered at the beginning of the screen portion that we want to scroll to the right. Its goal is to manage the hardware scroll before displaying the part that we haven't scrolled. Okay, uh, I just read that in this context. Um, so the first
Hello,
thing is
Kia-san. Kia-san, hello. Welcome to the to my stream or to our stream. Um, uh, please, please, everyone, say hello to Kia-san and uh, introduce yourself if you want, or say um, what you like or what you're looking for, etc. This is a stream, retro stream, 6502 programming for the Commodore 64, and we are doing scrolling.
okay.
Hello, Lolo, also. And by the way, I if you like what we do, please hit that follow button. If you are following us and you haven't hit that follow button, please do so. Anyway, thank you. Emanuele, you can continue.
Okay. The first thing that I make on the my service ERQ routine is interrupt routine is to increment the changing the color border to track where the mm, uh, where the raster beam is. So after that, I load the register value DO16 to test where I am with the shifting to change the hardware scroll every frame. Um, so I first first of all I take the value of the first 3 bits of DO16 and I change the hardware scroll with saved shift value with this other opcode that substitute the first 3 bit with the first 3 bit of this value. This value could be 0 from 7, so can be assume these values 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or until this value. So using or a, I I place this the value of these 3 bytes in this position of our DO16 um, register. With this operation, I change 1 pixel to 1 pixel of shifting from the raster line where the uh, the the ERQ start when the ERQ start is called. After that, I must I have to set the next interrupt routine. That is the interrupt routine to stop the shifting of the line. I made the same thing of before. I'm of these are the same are quite similar these four lines. In fact, sorry, here I use the ERQ start. Here I reset I setting again the interrupt to the new routine that is ERQ end on the same register ERQ 314 and 315 and from the raster line raster A, that is the last line of the second char line on the Commodore 64. Like before, I set this value to DO12 register in the VIC, and the last my last operation is to acknowledge the interrupt by creating the VIX interrupt flag using this super duper opcode. Okay. Here we have the bool code that is this comment is from my friend James that ate the jump, but in this case I have to jump to exit from the ERQ routine because we are in the basic environment, so our so we must return to the basic with this jump, with the return to the fault interrupt routine managed by the basic, but without keyboard scan, because the basic after our calling normally scan if a key is pressed on the keyboard.
Okay.
This is our first interrupt routine, so I is useless scan the keyboard because I know that there will be another routine after. Okay, James.
Okay, so the boo is there because to annoy Emanuele, you know, to as a joke for Emanuele, because when he sends me the code, then I add the comments to the code and I format the comments, and so sometimes I make mistakes too in English, but you know Um, it's what it is. Um, uh, but this is to annoy Emanuele. Every time I see a jump, I do this in his code because I do not like a lot the jump, but it depends. But I do not like a lot the jump because I believe it can create spaghetti code. But it depends in which context because sometimes you need it, uh, especially for beginners. I think it can be confusing sometimes. So yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a joke more than anything. So just ignore every time you see boo because you're going to see it a lot. Uh, just ignore and know it's a joke of mine on Emanuele. um,
Okay.
ju- just to talk about this routine, okay? This routine is same like the previous routine, okay? I mean, I can repeat what Emanuele said, uh, but we have seen it in the previous episodes. It is just today we are using in the end is the IRQ routine, which is different. The method of what of how we are calling stuff, of how we are setting the interrupt, is always the same. Okay, so this is why I don't think we need to waste a lot of time in explaining this because we have already done this several times. And the difference, we have seen it both ways, but the difference between this one, we have a jump, and when we were doing um, the return from interrupt, is because we have still basic on. So basically, we want to keep the OS, the basic, happy. So we return back to the basic interrupt routine. Um, that is all more than anything else. Emanuele, you can continue.
Okay.
By the way, did
After,
you read did you read what Doxter told you?
yes, I read. In
Yeah, you
fact,
see, your English is better when you do not rush. Okay? So do not
uh,
rush. And follow your comments. Follow the comments.
I'm trying to do not rush.
Yes, I know.
Okay. After this new setting of the ERQ, uh, the Commodore 64 wait for the ERQ and for the raster line raster A to call the ERQ and interrupt service routine. This interrupt service routine will be triggered at the end of the screen portion that we want scroll to the right, that is the second char line of the Commodore 64 in this case. The goal of this routine is reset the hardware scroll to normal position because the rest of the screen haven't to scroll. In fact, without this, all the rest of the screen should be scrolled, but is not our goal. Furthermore, this routine have to shift the charts to the left if hardware scrolling of the above screen portion reached the value 7. This is needed to continue the illusion of the complete row scrolling. Like in the other episode, we shift 7 bit, 7 pixel, and after we must scroll an entire line on an entire column on, or like in this example, a char, a completely a char. Okay. So when the ERQ end is called, we change again the border to show where the raster beam will be, uh, where, uh, where is the raster beam. uh, we loading the DO16 and we setting the X scroll to the normal position, that is 000, no hardware scroll, and we place this value to the VIC register again. So our goal now, our next operation is to increment our shift offset variable that is used to know where the scrolling is incrementing this shift offset variable, and we compare it with these other two lines with the 8 value. If if 8 is not reached, BCC substantially mean if is less than 8, then all is okay. So there is no need to roll one char to shift an entire char. But
Yeah, by roll, Emanuele means to shift an entire line to the right. Okay, that's what it means. That's what he means.
Thank you, James. But if we reach the 8th shift, we should roll one char to the right and reset the hour the hour shift offset. In fact, if we go to roll one char, the first things that we do is resetting the shift offset to 0. So we save the last char offline. We load the X index to make a loop to shift one every char of one position to the right, loading every char and storing it to the rightmost char, to immediate rightmost char. After that, we store the last line char at the beginning of the line. We have saved the last char in the Y register here, and here we restore the last char of the second line at the beginning of the second line. So we come back to the call. After that, after the call, we have to set again the hour vector, ERQ vector, to wait for the raster S line for calling the ERQ start routine, that is again our first okay, our first routine, this one. Okay, that shift the second char line. So we make acknowledge like in the other, no, sorry. And okay, see, we make acknowledge like in the other piece of code, and we decrementing, we change the color to the initial, very initial color. In fact, we have incremented 2 times. Here we have decremented 2 times to return back.
So I'm just going to interrupt you a bit, Emanuele. Just for those that maybe did not see the previous stream. So we had an interrupt that calls another interrupt or that sets another interrupt. But then you need to return to the first one. So if you have two interrupts, first interrupt happens. When that happens, you set for the second one. Okay. When that happens, you reset to the first one. And this is what Emanuele has done here. And we have seen it in the other episodes. I think even not just episode number 8, but even number 7, when we were talking about scrolling and how we deal with scrolling big parts of the screen or parts of the screen. So yeah, that is what Emanuele is trying to say here.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Okay. The very last opcode of the ERQ and routine is a jump to the fault interrupt routine, but this time to the EA31X, because at this value is the normal value that contained in the ERQ vector of the basic vector, and jumping into it, we permit to the OS, the basic, substantially, to make the keyboard scan. Okay, that's all.
Okay, so the difference between you still need to explain this part, but yeah, the difference between, you saw the jump here it is EA81 and here it is EA31. So here we did not need to check for the keyboard, while here he's checking for the keyboard. That's what the difference is. If you do not need to check for the keyboard, then you do not need to call EA31, but you can call EA81. Okay, that is all. The way to set up the interrupt is basically the same. Okay, so it's not rocket science. The routine is different, but I mean the setting up the interrupts pointer is different, but the rest is the same. Of course, we are doing the shift and the roll, okay, as he calls it, roll. So basically, he is calling this routine to do the roll. You haven't explained this, Emanuele, yet. Because else you will. So, you have not explained this yet.
I didn't see. A moment. Okay. Yes, I explained this.
You explained it. Well, I missed
Yes,
it then because
I
okay.
explained this.
So this is the routine that shifts the entire line to the right, basically, by one character.
When shift offset reach the value of
7.
8.
Yes, exactly. So that's basically it. EMU did well. Doctor, I do not
If
understand.
you want, I can. Sorry. If
I will
you
show.
want,
I will run it
play
again. I will run it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So that routine, the last one, Yeah, and this you see, Dexter, I did not need to jump in to help him out. So he is improving his English. Um, uh, you you can see that when it moves, okay, first it's shifted, but then there's the copy. That copy, okay, is of the whole line and shifted by one character is that last routine, okay? Let me put it on the side because when I click it will go away and then we bring it back. So where he was calling the shift of the whole line is this, okay?
Can you,
And the shift
uh,
of 1 pixel is this, okay? So when he reaches 7, then he do the whole line.
if you slow down the emulator, you can show better the
If I do what?
slow down the emulator speed.
Ah, you mean the CPU speed? Yeah, look. Yeah, Dogstar, he did good. He did good. I'm quite happy. You know, you cannot imagine, guys, how uh, Emanuele was scared. He wants to learn English, but he was scared of uh, doing the stream. But because he's doing the stream, now he has to, by force, he has to practice his English. And because of that, he's improving. So, yeah, it makes a difference. And I don't mind helping a friend, so why not? So yeah, that's this example 601 done and dusted. And I'm going to show you 602, what it will be. Now, this is a bit more funky. Okay, so now we have two, also using two interrupts, and also let's say they are in sync. What is the right word to say, Emmanuel, in this case? You can say the right word probably better than me. But yes, we have more than multiple scroll on the screen. Now, in many demos of the Commodore 64, you see a lot of scrolls on the same screen. Okay, one on top of the other, going different directions and all this stuff. The same technique that we are explaining here, you can use that. Okay, it's just here we are just doing two. We do not need to do 25 of them, but you can do that. Okay, you just need to maybe optimize it, because remember, this is code not highly optimized neither, but it is for demonstration purposes so that you understand the principle behind it. But once you learn the concept, once you learn the technique, then you can adapt it to various things, and also you can improve it, because you know, one thing that you need to know about algorithms is to always improve your algorithm, and if it's written in assembly, you always need to improve it. So yeah, so Emanuele, you can start example number 2.
Okay. In this example, the horizontal scroll line is made on two distinct lines. There are two rolling lines, one to the right and the other to the left, like we saw a second ago. I used 4 ERQ service routine. Uh, the example used to illustrate how we can use the same register, D016, to scroll to the left and to the right on the same screen. like the other example, the color are not scrolled.
Yeah, we are
Okay,
not scrolling color here, okay? Like the previous one.
it's very simple.
Yes.
Are very simple these scrolling routine. Okay. Here we have the same register like in the other example. Here we have a second constant for the second line to scroll to the left. We have two more raster line that indicate the start of the second line to scroll to the left. And now how you can imagine we say I made the same things 4 times instead of 2 times only. I enable the 38 call mode like before. I reset the scroll counter to the
Uh,
0.
okay.
I disabling the interrupt. I setting the first interrupt routine, the first interrupt service routine. I set the raster beam, the raster line where the beam, the raster beam will call my raster, my routine. Um, Here we clear the 8-bit of raster line. Set the interrupt control to say I want to use the raster line interrupt. I re-enable the interrupts and return to the basic. Like before, even in this example, I use basic. In fact, I use the ERQ 0314 0315 addresses. So the first routine ERQ start is identical to the other other example. I increment the border. I shifting the pixel using the shift offset like the counter for the pixel. To shifting the second character line to the right. I'm setting the new interrupt service routine that is identically to the other. I'm setting the raster A line. I acknowledge the interrupt. I have a boo again, and I jump to the IA81. That is the default interrupt routine for the basic without keyboard scan. The ERQ end is the same like before for the second character line, but this time I coming back to the border color is a little change. I reset the scrolling register because the line, even if you can say this, the line between the second and the fourth line is fixed. Okay, so I setting the scroll. I resetting the scroll register. Sorry for the third line, the third character line. I increment the shift offset variable uh, store the counter where I am with the shifting to the right. I make the comparing with the it value. I call the roll one char routine like in the other example, and at the end I call a new other service routine that will shift the fourth character line to the left this time. So this is the first very difference from the previous from the previous example. I made a new interrupt service routine that I call a ERQ start one. I setting to the ERQ03 14 ERQ03 15 vector bytes, say vector. I'm setting the new raster line where it will occur. I acknowledge the interrupt, and again I'm calling the EA81 because isn't the last one the last interrupt service routine. So I'm Commodore 64 await for the ERQ start one. No, Commodore 64 is not awaiting for it, but Commodore 64 will receive a calling at the raster A line.
So when raster line A is happening,
yes.
the interrupt will happen, and it will call this routine. No.
Yes. This interrupt service routine is similar to the ERQ start. This ERQ start one is similar to the ERQ start, but this time we use a new variable that I call the shift offset L, meaning left, that and this variable change its value from 7 to 0. The other one is changing its value from 0 to 7, and this one is on the contrary from 7 to 0. So the rest is quite similar. In fact, I decrementing the border to change the color. I loading I changing the register DO16 with the new value of the shifting, with the new shifting value. So I setting the next interrupt routine that will be the last one. Okay, I'm calling it, I called ERQ and 1. I'm setting the vector like on the other setting. I'm setting the new raster line, the new end raster line. I acknowledge the interrupt, and this time, and I jump to EA81 to return to default interrupt routine. Now we are in the very last interrupt service routine that Okay. This interrupt service routine will be triggered at the end of the screen portion that we want to scroll to the left. The goal of this routine is reset the hardware scroll to the normal position because the rest of the screen after the fourth character line haven't to scroll. Furthermore, this routine has to shift the charts to the left if hardware scrolling of the above screen portion reached the value of 0. This is needed to continue the illusion of the complete row scrolling. In this interrupt service routine, I coming back with the border color. I reset the scroll register. I decrementing my counter for the offset for the left shift, and I control and I check that its value will be positive, greater than 0. If n is not greater than 0, I roll one char to left that sorry, I roll one char to left the fourth char line of the Commodore 64. Like the other routine that roll one char to the right, okay, this one set the shift offset to the left to 7 because this is the first value for the shift to the left. I save the first char of the line. I'm looping all characters and shifting it to the immediate rightmost character, leftmost. Yes, leftmost, not rightmost. Yes. Okay. At the end, I restore the last character. No, yes, the first. I store the last line char at the beginning of the line. Now, coming back to the our routine, the last interrupt service routine, we set the vector to the very first routine again to start for the next frame. In the same way like before, setting the vector, setting the raster line where the interrupt will be triggered, acknowledge the interrupt, and at the end we jump to EA31, that is the default interrupt routine with keyboard scan. That is the default value on that Commodore 64 have on these two bytes. I finished this explanation. If you
so first of all, first of all, I'm just going to say a bit about these two routines. So if you notice, they are very identical, but one shifts to the left and one shifts to the right. Okay, notice this is where the changes are. One is a +1, one is a -1. One starts from 39, the other one starts from 0. It's just the opposite. The value for the shift starts from 7, here starts from 0. So you can see that the same routine was just repeated and made to do things the opposite of the other one, but it's the same basic routine.
Asymmetrically.
Sorry?
Asymmetrically.
Yeah, they are symmetrical, yes. So that's the first thing. And here we have two IRQs. Let me take control, not you take control now.
Sorry.
It's okay. And here we have two IRQs, okay? They are identical, right? So
Yes.
just to make sure that
Yeah.
I'm not making
Yes.
a mistake. Yeah, this is the start, IRQ end, IRQ start 1, and 1, exactly. So they are the same. The only difference is where is it? Here. Not there, sorry. It's here. Where is it that you do the calculation? Yeah, here. Yes, this part. This is one that does the shift to the left. Okay, it does the shift and then it does the roll, and the other one is the opposite. Okay, that's the main difference. The setup of both is the same, except of course the raster line, because this is raster A and this one is raster B. But in terms of setup, nothing changes, okay, except that part. So what we have done here is from the first one that we saw, okay, so 601, we are in 602, okay, but we have expanded what we had in 601 by including another one, but actually the code is a copy, just doing the opposite, not really change, okay. While we are here, I want to also highlight something. So I always say to look under the videos and to check for the code, the source code. The videos of this string, the Retro Programmers Inside and Phase 101, Tuesday Night Live, all the sources are available. If you click under the video, you will see all the sources, and here are they updated till number 8. Okay, once I release video number 9, there will be also the code for number 9. Okay, so this is why I tell you to check the code, sorry, the videos under the video, because the code is all there. It's free for you to use. Okay, we are not doing anything secret. As I said, this code is for learning purposes, so it's not highly optimized, and of course you need to optimize and use it for your needs. Okay, the important thing is that you learn the theory, the technique. Okay, so from number 2 we jump to number 3, and this one I need to show it to you. Now here things are going to change. What we mean by changing, let me jump back to the screen. Okay, what I mean by changing, we have two scrolls like we had previously. Okay, one to the left and one to the right. Okay, but this time, and this is the first time you're seeing this, we have scroll with color. Okay, so another factor has been added into the equation. Besides, the chunk is bigger. Okay, the scroll, besides the chunk of the scroll is bigger, we also have color being scrolled, which does make a difference. So, Emmanuel, I don't know if you want to drink something before you continue, um, but because this is quite a long listing now. Um,
Okay.
so I'm going to give you control and you can start, but please stop. It's a long listing, so I can understand that you will need me to explain things.
Okay. In in this example, there are two parts of displays that rolling one to the right and one to the left, like in the other example. I used for service routine like in the last example. And in this example, finally, we scroll the colors too. Okay. We define our constants, the various register for the on the VIC, the two ERQ vector, because I use the um, the um, the basic vector even for this example. Here we have the screen map address O4, 0400 and a new one constant for the color map address that is D800X. The color map on the 64 start from this address and is 1000 bytes wider, and follow the screen the screen wide. Um, Here we have the address of the first byte of the screen line on the video, and we have the address of the first byte for the color map of the first screen portion. Here we have other constant similar to the last two. An address of the first byte of the line 20 and the address of the first byte for color map of the second screen portion that start from the line 20. Here we have the various raster line involved on the example. These are the raster lines involved for the first part, and these two are the raster line involved for the second part. Okay. Um, the main program I chose I choose to start from this address, but is not mandatory this thing. So first of all, I load the screen portion. That is a simple routine that simply load load the map that I memorized to the okay. Coming back to the load screen portion. I load the screen. After loading the screen, I will do the same thing like before. Enable 38 column mode and resetting the scroll counter to 0 on the control register 2 with these 4 lines. I will I I disable the interrupt like before. I disable the interrupt on the CIA and I load the first interrupt service routine on the vector. I load the raster line where my routine will be triggered on the O12 raster VIC register. I clear the 8-bit like before because my lines are under the 255. So I say to the Commodore 64, please call the, the interrupt raster lines, call the interrupt linked with the raster line, and I re-enabling the interrupt. This
Emanuele,
way sorry.
Emanuele, I just realized that I had my microphone muted when I explained that part. So I'm just going to explain it again, just for the sake of my. I'm just going to take control this time, uh, for the sake of those that didn't hear me. So the routine that he's calling here at the beginning, okay, the load screen portion, okay, which doesn't really need to explain a lot of explanation, but this is our screen and this is our color RAM, okay. So basically he reads one character, pokes it to the screen, he reads one character and pokes it to the color memory. The routine is this routine, okay. As you can see, there are 4 parts of it because the screen is divided into 4 parts. The first part reads the character screen code and pokes it to the screen, and then reads the color map and pokes it to the color map. That is all, and he's doing this 4 times. So there isn't really, you know, a need to explain this. Um, to be honest, it is quite understandable. I didn't comment it out, but I assume you will be able to understand this. What this is doing. It's quite easy. Then, of course, he does the usual setup, okay, of setting up for the first uh, interrupt. Where is it? Here. Okay. The rest is the same. Okay. I'm just going to pass. Except actually one thing. Here we have an infinite loop this time because we are not returning back to basic, but we are staying in our routine and displaying everything what is happening on the screen using the interrupt.
Yes.
I give the control to Emanuele.
Okay. So after enable, like the James said, I made an infinite loop to to display continuously the shifting of my screen. The ERQ start service routine, the first one, ERQ start, is very similar to the other routine on the the other example. This time is identical. In fact, I incremented the border to see where the raster beam is located. I update the hardware scroll using my shift counter on the DO16 register. So I set the next interrupt routine to the next raster line, but will be more different in the value, like compared with the other one, the other example. I mean, because here we are shifting 5 lines, not only one. So we acknowledge the ERQ and jumping to the default interrupt routine. After that, at the end of the first part of right scrolling, I coming back with the initial border color. I'm resetting the scroll register to the 0 because the central part of my screen will be fixed. I incremented the counter, and I comparing it to the with the 8 value to see if I must roll one column to the right. I maintain the same name, but this routine roll one column of 5 characters. So we can see this routine, because this routine change a little for the screen, but have a new things about colors. In fact, this routine will roll all charts and its colors when the hardware score reaches the end of the stroke. That is when X scroll equal to 7. So first of all, I reset my smooth scrolling counter. I saved the last chart of the lines in a buffer. Okay, so I take the last chart of the first line and save to the buffer. I save the last chart of the second line and I save it into the buffer, into another buffer, into another byte of the same buffer. I save, I load the, and so on for the 5 times, sorry. And in the same way, I save the last chart's color of the first 5 lines in another buffer that I call the buff call, that is defined at the end of the program. And after that, I starting to shifting all charts of one position to the right. Here for the screen, In fact, I'm using the screen address and here for the color. In fact, I'm using the color map address. But it's like a superimpose on the screen. Here, sorry, here we close the loop. Okay, for 39 columns. Okay, and here store the last line char line at the beginning of each of the first 5 lines. And here I made the same for the colors. I store the colors of the last char on the first 5 lines to the first char of the first 5 lines. Coming back. Okay, sorry. Okay, here. Coming back. Now I set the next interrupt routine. Nothing new for us. Here we load the next address, save on the vector, setting the raster line, knowledge the interrupt, and jump to the default interrupt routine. Same things. In the next interrupt routine is about the second part, the second part of the third part of the video that will be shifted to the left. So I decrementing the border to change to see where the raster beam is located. I'm resetting the scroll register. I'm setting the new interrupt routine. To the end, to the last line of this second part. I setting the vector. I loading the new raster beam location where my new ERQ will be triggered. I acknowledge the interrupt, and I jumping to the default interrupt routine. Here we have the very last, the fourth interrupt service routine. I'm backing to the normal color of border. I'm resetting the scroll register. I'm decrementing my shift offset for the left scrolling. I'm comparing it with the I'm checking that its value will be greater than 0 with this. If not, if isn't greater with 0, I rolling one char left. This routine is similar to the other. Why? Okay, is similar to the other, but this time I save the first char for the 5 lines on the last part of the screen, and I save the first charge color of the last part of the screen. So I make a loop to shift one char left to one char left uh, 39 for 39 times, and I restore the last line chart at the beginning of the 5 lines that I shifted to the left. In this way, I completed the scrolling to the left. At the end, I made the same things. The ERQ start, so I point the new uh, the new vector to the first interrupt using the first value for the raster line, and I acknowledge the interrupt by clearing the weak interrupts flag. And I'm jumping to the A81 without keyboard scan. In this context, I haven't called EA31 because it's useless for this example. Um, I have completed my job, I think.
So, okay, just for the sake of, I'm not sure if we were too fast today or not. I mean, I'm just going to explain not necessarily the code, but give you what we did. So the first code had one example of scrolling to the right. Then the same code, okay, it was just one line. The same code, we expanded it to scroll one line to the right and one line to the left. Okay. Then what we did, the same code of number 2, okay, because it's the same code at the end, just the roll routine that is different. Okay, we scrolled 5 rows to the right and 5 rows to the left, but also we included the color. In terms of code, it's still the same as O2. Okay, it didn't change from that point of view. Okay, it's just that the height is higher because not one row but 5, but also we have included the color, which is, before we had, where was it? If I go to the end, okay, control. If we go to the end, sorry, yeah, if I go to the end, okay, we had this routine to do the roll, and it is of one line. Okay, one line. Now it is a routine, okay, that does 5 lines. Okay,
It's very naive, this routine.
yeah, it's a simple, this is not optimized, it's not, guys, Emanuele says naive, but it's not, it's a simple code. It's the concept. Okay, so
it's not right, naive terms.
naive can mean somebody that is
Simple,
yes,
very
but
simple.
you don't use it, I think you don't use it like that in English. I have,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't say naive for code, I would say simple. Okay, it's very simple code, but that is what he's doing. So this is the whole thing. We did 3 examples, but actually if you understood the first one, the second was a replica of the first one, but with an edit line. Then the third one is exactly like this, like the second one, but instead of one line, we are doing 5 lines. And we have added colors. But as you can see, okay, these are the 5 lines that he saves to the buffer, and these are the 5 lines that he rolls, right? Where is it? Here is he saves the first 5 lines and the color, and then he rolls. Okay, and it's the same thing, you know, for the rest. It's not that something really changed, something big. It's a very, I mean, Emmanuel, as I said before, calls it naive routine. It's a very simple routine, nothing special, and you will have your routine here. You will not use this routine. This is, as I said, is for demonstration purposes. You will have your own routine, but the concept remains the same. Okay, you know, no demo coder, no matter how experienced he is, okay, knew everything. They started from zero, like any one of you guys. Okay, if you are just starting, so you do one step at a time, and this code helps you to do that step. Okay, then you go further by yourself by looking and searching and seeing what you need to do, as we learned at school, basically. Nothing special. So this is where we end the session. In a way, I want to remind you that I'm just going to bring it back. Give me a second. I remind you that you have 10 days for the challenge to complete it, okay, and submit it. Also, I remind you that the stream for the games, okay, will be on the 20th. It's because I am in Italy. That's why, as I would do it earlier. However, you still need to submit till the 10th because Emanuele will be organizing them. Okay, so you still need to do that. It's not that you're going to send it to me on the 19th and you expect it to be on the stream, because it won't happen. So 10 is the cutoff date. Also, I remind you that the code is under each video, and you will find a link that will redirect you here. So for each episode there is this, and as I said, the code is free and for everyone to use. Maybe one day somebody will thank us, okay, and you know, they will get famous and remember of us. Anyway, so guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this session and hope to see you next week. Sorry, in 2 weeks time, for on the 20th, okay, of actually 3 weeks time, on the 20th of September, because that's the first stream actually. So thank you very much, and bye bye.
Bye bye. See you later.